Welcome to Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan, training you to lead with courage.
Hello, everyone. We are so happy to have you back at our Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan every Wednesday and Saturday at 10 o'clock Central Time. If you are here, it's because you care about America, you care about freedom, and you care about generations to come, not only your own freedom. I want to talk about freedom is precious. I entitled my speech, and in fact, that's how I signed my book, Saving My Assassin, that has my memoir. I know, and I lived in a society where freedom was inexistent. And it's not good. It's not pretty. And for that reason, I want to encourage each one of you as we see America changing from one day to another. We see Christians being pushed away, even threatened to lose their job. Our freedoms are under attack in America. No question about this. But we, as people, Americans, that we have enjoyed for such a long time, freedom, and we also brought freedom to many other countries. We never experienced a government or corporations or people to order us what to do or to violate the law of God. It's a totally different atmosphere that we live today. But we as Christians, we are the same. We are more than conquerors on the top of the mountains or in the valley because we are guided, protected, and we receive wisdom from a God of the universe who protects us and gives us everything that we need for every circumstances. It's easier to believe or to say that somebody else should do what, in fact, we need to do. You maybe heard me several times saying that we all have skills and we all were created for a time like this. Again, if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. And you have to look inside of you and see what kind of skills, positions you are in that you can influence and you can change this, because the changes will not come from the government or corporations or other powers. The changes will come from us. You might think and you might say, how in the world can I do that? Well, I have done this, and if you read my memoir, Saving My Assassin, you will understand. I am under 5 feet tall. I was 20-something years old at that time in Romania, and I fought against a cruel and powerful dictator, Nicolae Ceausescu. I took him to court as a lawyer, and I fought against violations of human and religious rights. And by the grace of God, I am alive. I had God's power and wisdom in me and protection. And for that reason, I'm here today to tell you that you, as you put your life and your purpose in God's hands, He will use you for your glory. That's the reason why you are here. America is changing every single day, and we cannot stay just watching what others want to do with our country and take our freedom away, not only for us, but for generations to come. There are so many changes everywhere, and it's time for us to stop just watching them doing it, what they want to do. It's time for us to speak up, because we as people, we have to live under God appointed government, no matter if the government likes God or not. But we have to live under specific and courageous attitude. And we also have to make sure that, like many people before, they lived under godly leaders or lived under dictators, from Roman Empire to Nero to dictator Nicolae Ceausescu, and even now in many countries there are dictators. People live a godly life and make changes no matter the circumstances. God is asking us to pray for them, pray for our leaders, and pray for our city, that we might have a good life. After all, we are just foreigners and strangers. Our country is heaven, but our God is the one who gives us freedom. Freedom comes from God, and we had that freedom long before we have a constitution. Even the American Constitution, that is the best constitution that gives people rights. Freedom comes from God, not from government. Many days ago, we all watch, and several people put on Facebook information, and even television, explain what a horrible situation happened in the train in Philadelphia, where a woman was assaulted, and people, instead of helping or calling 911, they are putting their phone up and recording that horrible incident. This is not America. It's time for us to stand up and speak up and do what God called us to do. I want you to think about that. There is a very fine line where the government, and we respect the government, we should be polite and support the government, because the government is established by God and it's there in order to protect us from foreign and domestic violence or domestic enemies. But when the government crosses the line and asks us to violate the law of God, that we have to remain on the law of God and support the consequences for a temporary time of the earthly law. And what I said for temporary is because, yes, I fought against a dictator. I was arrested, beaten, tortured, placed under house arrest, and I came within seconds of being executed by the order of Ceausescu himself, who sent an assassin to kill me. And that suffering was for a short period of time. Dictator Ceausescu is dead and I'm alive. So no matter the persecution, no matter the circumstances that you will suffer, because you will stand up for the law of God, for what God is requiring you to do, that it's going to be a temporary pain and suffering. It's not going to be forever. God has a limitation for every government that fights against God. In fact, the fight is not against us, it's first against the government. We can take example from the Bible and from people who fought against dictators or kings or other people that force them, people of God, to cross the line and to betray God. And one of the examples is Daniel. Daniel and his friends, his three friends, first of all, took an issue with the diet. They were very polite with the king. They were ready to help the king with everything that they had it to do, but they had a problem with what the king, the government, wanted to put in their body. So they give the leaders of the government a choice. They were very respectful, and they asked to give them an option for 10 days to eat a different kind of food, vegetables, and to compare themselves with other people that will take the food that the king wanted them to eat. So my first point is be diplomatic as Daniel and his 3 friends. Be respectful to the government, ask what needs to be done, and if it crosses the line, if it goes against God's law, present an option. And if that doesn't work, then you support the consequences. Number 2, be faithful. Be faithful to God and speak up to others who cannot speak for themselves. And when the law of kings or the law of the government goes against the law of God, support the consequences. Daniel had to be pray, open the windows, and continue to pray, even though the king said, you cannot pray, you can pray only to me. But Daniel was faithful. But in the lion's den, Daniel was saved, and the king and the entire kingdom found out about God. So be faithful, because when you remain faithful to God, others will follow you. Number 3, take example from Paul. Paul knew his rights, and as a Roman citizen, he appealed to the Caesar. So, as an American citizen, make sure that you know your rights, the Constitution and all your rights. When the government is asking you about vaccination or about coming into your house, you have to know that you have specific rights, and you do not have to give them away. Number 4, I want to ask you and to ask all of us to take example of Esther. Esther was in a position of power given by God for a specific reason. Look around you. You might be a parent. It is a very important position that you have. You might be a CEO of a big company, whatever position you have. Even if you are just a driver of the school bus, you have an important position. A teacher, a lawyer, whatever position you have, that's the position given by God to you in order to stand up and to speak up for a time like this. So pray and listen to God's instructions, because if you don't, you will be accountable. But if you do, the entire situation will be changed. Make sure that whatever you do, it's good and pleases God as your Lord and Savior. I hope all these 4 things that you can do, and there are more than this. You can disciple others. You can go and vote, right? We are in close to November. It's election time. You can run for a public office. You can go to school to be part of the school board. You can do all kind of things. There are so many things that you can do here. It's amazing that we in America, we have opportunities that other people don't have at all. It's time for us to win souls, not arguments, to make sure that we speak up, and even for those who cannot speak, that we stand up for our rights in respect and kindly to the government or any corporation or anyone who will decide to give us order to violate the law of land, because we have a constitution and the law of God, we have the power in us to stand up and remain on God's law. And if they don't respect that to support the consequences. I'm assuring you that no matter the pain and suffering that we might encounter, it's going to be a temporary one, but changes will be forever. God used me to change Romania from a socialist communist country to a democratic country by standing up and taking a dictator to court, by making aware the entire world that the violations of the law that he was doing, he was performing in Romania, and Romania was changed. The revolution came and Romania was changed from a capitalist country where people have rights, people have opportunities to go to church and honor God. Today we are in this situation because it's just a test of faith. If you stand up, others will stand up with you. It's an honor and a privilege to suffer for Christ for a short period of time and to see the miracles and the changes that God can do in us and through us and for America. I'm asking you to stand up and speak up and remain faithful to God. If you have any questions or if you want to buy the book, Saving My Assassin, you can go to virginiaprodanbooks.com/product/book. I know it's going to encourage you so much to understand that God can use one person. Like he used me, he will use you for his glory to change America. I hope you are encouraged, and I hope to hear from you. Until next time, goodbye and be blessed.
If you want to know more about Virginia Prodan, her coaching program, buy her book, Saving My Assassin, or invite Virginia to speak at your events, visit virginiaprodanbooks.com.